Yeah.
Okay. Hey, this is Janelle.
It's Malik.
And we're recording in the same room for the first time in over a year.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Oh my goodness. It's been a while.
It has been a very long time. I'm real excited to be hanging out with Malik in person and getting to talk to you guys. So thank you for taking a break with us, and the hiatus is over.
Oh yeah, it's time to go. Time to get back live.
So thanks for coming back and joining us again. We're so excited that you're ready to come get back in full force. We're going to kick off and jump into some new things and pick up where we left off on some old things. Yeah, Malik, you want to tell them about our new idea for Quick Chats?
Yes, so we wanted to change the way we did Quick Chats. We decided that we're going to make it more like episode 0. So, if you enjoyed episode 0, Quick Chats are going to be more like that. However, if you haven't listened to it, you should go back and let us know how you like it.
It's really fun. I really like that episode, so I hope you guys like it too. And I really hope you like our new direction with Quick Chats, because I think it's really fun.
Yeah. So we're going to try to do a quick chat every month instead of only the months with the extra Monday in it. So we're going to have 2 episodes a month this go around. We're going to do 1 regular formatted episode and then 1 quick chat. So we'll see how that quick chat goes.
It's basically just Malik and I having a conversation and then taking out the most boring parts and giving you guys the most fun, most random bits of what our relationship really looks like.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be really fun. So it'll be a little bit of a call back to what we originally thought this podcast was going to be. So,
and you get just a more unfiltered version of Malik and I, which I think is the most fun version of Malik and I.
I think I agree.
So, yeah, we're really excited. We're really glad to be getting back into the swing of things and be picking up where we left off. And, yeah. Let us know what you do and do not like as we kick back off. Because we want to know what you guys think. As much as this is for us, it's also for you guys. So, yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Now to episode 8. Welcome to Coffee Side Chat, a podcast where we talk about anything and everything. My name is Malik.
I'm Janelle.
And this is our show.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're still figuring it out, guys.
We're figuring it out.
Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you guys here. What are we talking about today, Malik?
You're skipping the most important part. What are you drinking today?
That is the most important part. It's my favorite part, and I forgot it. What are you drinking today, Malik?
I'm drinking Taste of the Hill Country coffee from H-E-B and water because I kind of need to hydrate. And you?
Hydration is very important. I actually had a lot of coffee and tea today at a meeting I had. So I'm drinking water, and I just finished like a whole stalk of celery. So I'm feeling real healthy today. But I'm not drinking any coffee for Coffee Side Chats. But I got my water.
You're forgiven right now.
Thanks. That means a lot. Okay, so now what are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about changes in relationship dynamics, mostly friends, family, significant others, and how certain things affect how those relationships develop and how they can grow or shrink just depending on a lot of different situations.
Oof, it's going to be a fun one. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different relationships, a lot of different friendships, and kind of our experiences. And I just want to set this forward so everybody listening knows any stories we tell, if we tell any stories, we're going to use fake names. People in the stories will probably be able to figure out that it's them. But we just want to attempt to protect their privacy. Even if we're maybe not speaking the nicest about them at that moment.
That's true.
Yeah. You and I have had to kind of deal with this a little bit. I mean, just our friendship has changed so much in the last, 3 years?
Yep. Went from nothing to doing a podcast together.
And it went from working at the same store all the time to living several states apart and two different time zones, like 2 time zones apart. And that's changed a lot too. Yeah, I remember when I first moved up here, I feel like I called you every other week.
Well, it was just something that we were used to just talking all the time. And so it was a very difficult transition at the beginning. I think we've gotten better about it, but yeah, the transition was not the easiest.
No, it was really hard. And now it's gotten to the point where I think, and maybe you will think differently, it's gotten to the point where, like, the friendship is still really strong, but we don't talk as much, mostly just because we don't see each other. We don't have that tactile relationship anymore where we're in each other's space all the time. So it takes a lot more conscious effort to reach out and say, hey, Malik, let's talk on the phone, or anything along those lines. Like, we text and we Snapchat, but that's not the same thing as making funny faces at you because I see you walking through the store.
Very true. Yeah, we just have to make more of a overt effort to like plan these things because we are 2 time zones apart and we're both much busier than when we first started doing this. So we have to really make sure we're carving out some time, which is not always easy. Sometimes it's a few weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah, because when I moved, you moved very shortly after me. And so we both were in new cities where we didn't have a whole lot going on. And just over time, we've carved our niche in our respective new places. And so it's not like I'm calling you because I have no one else to talk to. It's I'm calling you because I still really want to talk to you, but I'm calling you between doing this and going to see that and just being really busy, because that's what happens when you settle in.
Yeah. So as far as the discussion goes for today, we want to kind of go over some of the factors. And I think the biggest one is really the distance between people.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's one of the hardest things to adjust to. Like, I have friends from high school, where we would be in the same place or in the same city or one city apart for years. And it wasn't until we all went off to college that when you really aren't near someone, it's really easy to kind of forget that they were there at all, things like that. So I've found that distance really can affect the way relationships develop.
And not even really long distances. I remember when I moved to Austin from Seguin, which is only an hour outside of the city, and even that put such a strain on certain relationships where, like, it was really, really hard to keep friends. And I was like, I'm still trying. I'm still talking to you. I'm calling you all the time, but not being next to each other, not seeing each other in such a casual way really just, like, severed some relationships very quickly. And some of them, it was just a long, slow, painful death. And it takes a lot of effort to keep those going. And you have to be so mindful of, I don't have all the time in the world to be reaching out to individual people. And you kind of almost have to, like, pick and choose who you want to keep. I hope that doesn't make me sound like an awful person, because I try to keep everyone, but I hope that also makes my friends who are from Seguin and from Austin, since I've left, feel more valued when I do reach out to you, because I do want to talk to you.
I don't think that makes you sound like a horrible person at all. It's just kind of what happens. You find that there are a lot of friendships that you have that are out of convenience. And when that convenience goes away, it kind of separates those friendships out from the other ones, where there's only so much, energy and effort that you can put into something. And if the friendship relationship doesn't mean the same to both people, you get a disproportionate amount of effort. So it definitely can change and basically get rid of relationships altogether.
Which that's another factor is convenience. Is it convenient to hang out with you? How much time do I have to dedicate to spending with you? And whether that's like just spending time with you at work, or we get off work and so we're going to go do something together. Like, how convenient is it to give that person time? And if it becomes at all inconvenient, are you going to drop that person immediately?
That's a pretty big part there, because sometimes the inconvenience is worth it because you know you're going to have a great time with that person. But if it happens to be a friend that you or person you're sort of close to, but you know the relationship is not the strongest, then any amount of inconvenience can completely shatter the entire thing. So especially when if it takes me an hour and a half to get to you, let's say we live in a different city but we're relatively close, an hour and a half to get to you, I want to be able to put in, have 4 or 5, 6 hours of time before I drive all the way the hour and a half back. It's like it has to be worth the exchange. And if we only have an hour and a half worth of stuff to talk about, and I've driven an hour or hour and a half, then like 3 hours in the car for an hour of something to do makes it not worth the effort, really.
Yeah. Which kind of, I'm going to backtrack a little bit back to the distance thing. How much distance is enough to call it a long distance relationship?
I think that's going to really depend on the person. Like for myself, when I started dating my fiance, we lived 3-ish hours apart. Sometimes 4 if traffic was really bad. But as a person who likes to drive, just in general, it wasn't like really that quote unquote long distance for me. But I had plenty of friends where an hour might as well be the other side of the universe. And they're just like, no, this is too hard. And for me, it's like, oh, what? I got to go drive 3 hours, whatever. It just depends on the person, I think, a lot of times, what their willingness is just in general. Because some people are just more willing to travel and just make those things happen.
Yeah, it really comes down, a lot of the factors really boil down to how valuable is that friendship. If it's, or that relationship in general, is it worth driving 3 hours for that person? Is it worth driving an hour for that person? Is it worth driving 30 minutes? If it's not worth driving 30 minutes, like, that person's pretty low on the totem pole, at least in my opinion. And it's such a weird thing to kind of put a value on that, but you realize that when you're, like, if there becomes any conflict with that friend, or any of these other if any of these other factors come into play, then you really quickly are making a value judgment of, is it worth keeping this friend for all of the work I have to put in with distance, time commitment, or any of these other things?
Yeah, sometimes people fall from like people you would consider really good friends to just kind of acquaintances. And you just catch up if you happen to be in the same city. You just, cool. We'll go grab lunch. But if not, no one's trying to put in the crazy effort to make anything happen. Which there are numerous people in my life where that is. And I think when both people understand that's kind of where their relationship is going, it makes it a lot easier to do. Because when the effort is disproportionate, then there's a lot more problems.
Yeah. I feel like I'm talking about friends so negatively. Like, you can only have high value friends, but like, there definitely is a lot of value in having friends who are just very convenient, and just having somebody there to chat with, not necessarily to have deep, long conversations or to be spending all day with. So yeah, that's also very important.
Yeah, happens that way. One of the things that does kind of come into play with the other factors that we talk, distance and time commitments, is the stubbornness people can have. Because sometimes you're like, well, I did this time. It's your turn to do something, or I drove here, or I paid for this, or I did this, and I've inconvenienced myself, but you don't ever inconvenience yourself. Yeah, so that's definitely something that has come up in a couple spots where it's like, why should I have to do all the travel when both people basically are feeling like they're putting in quote unquote equal effort and neither one of them agrees with the other person.
Which that kind of goes back to the value thing of, are you and that friend, do you value the friendship equally? That's what I'm trying to say. Can't find words today. Do you value the friendship equally? And like when it comes to a conflict like that where both of you are saying that you're right and one person's definitely putting in more effort than the other, do you value it the same way? Yeah, I don't know. And I know you are very stubborn on a lot of things. I'm stubborn in the fact that I think we both are like this, though. Once we've decided somebody's going to be our friend and we've put time and energy into that friendship, it takes a lot for us to say, no, I'm done. Like, we'll keep that value placement where we put it, and it takes a lot of effort to bring that bar down for those people.
Absolutely, because it's like, I've put too much time and energy into this. And one of my closest friends from high school, we'll call her Cynthia just because we're going to do that. We were super, super close, and she moved out of state. And when we all go visit. I always felt like, why do we have to go to where you are in college and you never come to where we're in college? And it's became a very contentious kind of thing, but it still took a long time for that relationship to just start really dissolving. It was like several years of this kind of back and forth. And eventually it's like, okay, this is going to be, we're just normal friends. We're not like, it's no longer like we're super, super close kind of thing. It's not really the way this is going to work anymore.
Yeah. That's so hard. That's so sad. Like, I hate looking back at old friendships and realizing we're not really friends anymore. I have no idea what's going on in that person's life anymore. And we used to spend all day, every day together. To go from that point to looking back 5 years later and saying, who are they? It just breaks my heart so much. Because I'm like, yeah, I invested a lot of time in that friendship. And at the time when we were friends, like, I really thought that was going to be a lot longer than it was. Like, I had friendships in high school that lasted a year after and maybe a couple months into 2 years after. And once we all were at the same school, it became really different. So, like, we all left, different friends, of course, but like a few specific friends went to the same college I did. And like, we would talk sometimes, but I distinctly remember they invited me to a birthday party. And I just felt so out of place. And I was like, these are not the people I went to high school with anymore. And you just have to learn to accept, like, that's not my life anymore. They're changing, I'm changing, we're all growing, and it's all signs of good things, but it hurts so much in the moment.
Yeah, there's something about that sophomore year fall off that is just, I mean.
So sometimes friends become like family members. I don't think our friend group ever really became that close, but the new friend group that I have in Oregon, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before, it's so much like a family, and it's so great. Within like a month of meeting them, we were planning Friendsgiving and picking who was going to bring which meal or like which part of the meal, and just very quickly deciding we were the family we were going to spend holidays with. And we went on a camping trip together, and the married couple in the group ends up kind of being the parents of the group, which is awesome. And they're so great at it. And we love having them as our mom and dad. And then the rest of us just act like siblings half the time. And it's so fun. And I don't think that happens very often. I never really consider friends like family except this new group of people. And I love it.
Yeah, that is something that rarely happens, but it always kind of starts with people, like the one or two people that take charge, so they're more or less like mom and dad. It always starts with that. With For me, is like, okay, two people are like, okay, they're really in charge and they're kind of keeping everybody together, and everybody kind of, okay, we do what mom and dad says even though we don't want to, kind of thing. And so that's maybe where it starts, and then everybody kind of fills in the roles from there. Some people will be like brother, sister. There's always like the one friend that comes in a little bit later to the group that's like the crazy uncle. It's other weird, it's a weird thing that tends to happen. But yeah, it doesn't happen very often though. Very few times.
Yeah, I'm really scared for the day I have to leave these friends because I'm never going to find this again. Like, replacing these friends is not going to ever happen. I'll have to find just a friend group again, not a family group, which is fine. It's just really sad to think about. I'm like, oh no.
You know, funny enough for me in that scenario, I typically become the dad a lot, especially when it's like, okay, guys, we can all come over here. I'll cook and we'll make sure everyone's, fed, and we're just, I plan all the gatherings and stuff like that. I tend to end up being in that role, which I like it, but it's not really where I would think I would end up most of the time, but it happens.
I'm not surprised at all that you become the dad figure in your friend group.
Yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that.
Why does it surprise you? Why do you not think that would be your role?
Well, because typically where most of my friendships start is really on, everyone's quote unquote on even terms. But I have a tendency to just take over stuff, I guess, which is fine when it works.
Yeah. I don't know. That sounds like a dad thing to me.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I don't like becoming the mom. There was a recent situation with one of my friends where I ended up feeling like I was taking care of them the whole time. And I was like, I'm not ready to be the mother of a young person, like not a kid, like young adult. I don't want to be your mom. I want you to be able to take care of yourself. And I don't want to take charge all the time. I like taking charge sometimes, but I prefer it when it's like, I take charge in this situation, you take charge in that situation, and we're going to get things done to where both of us have some responsibilities some of the time.
Yeah, sometimes that works, but there are certain friends we have that's not something that really works. You just have to basically do it all in order for things to go remotely okay. So that's always great when you get forced into that role. It's much better if it naturally develops.
Yeah. Speaking of family, though, I'm so good at transitions, guys. What is, like, trying to think how to word this question. Do you classify your parents as friends to some extent? Like, do you call your siblings friends? Do you call your parents friends?
Not really. Because so with me and my siblings, we have quite a bit of distance in between us. So we never spent a lot of time hanging out together. Like 5 years doesn't seem like that long, but it might as well be an eternity when it comes to between me and my next youngest brothers, and then it's 5, then 8, then 12 years in between me and all my younger siblings. So you never really develop that friendship like that, like a family, and I love them, but it's like we're not really friends. I'll take care of you if I need to, but we're not really friends. And my older siblings are much older than me, so it never end up being that way. As far as the parents go, not really, but being the oldest in my house where I grew up, it's interesting because you get to talk on a more of an adult level with your parents. And so it's a weird kind of we kind of change a relationship, especially as you get older and you start understanding more. And getting ready to be married soon and all these other things. So then your parents start talking about even more adult things, or more marriage, or having kids, all this other stuff. So the conversation type changes a lot, but as far as friends per se, not really.
Um, I remember though that when I got some nice movie for my mom, because I know that my mom really likes movies too, and buying that for her and sitting and watching that with her, that's when I felt the most like mom and I were just friends. Because we both were just enjoying the movie and talking about our experience with that movie and the characters in it and the actors who played them. And I was like, this is good. I like this relationship with my mom. And like realizing that change was really exciting to see. Oh, it's less about taking care of each other and more about just having a good time together and being able to have serious conversations and fun conversations about things other than, Mom, I drew a picture for you.
Yeah, and that's something that definitely changes with age, though. As you get older, it's just the parents don't have to protect you from as many things as they did when you were younger. So it kind of just happens that way, I think, as part of letting you grow up.
Yeah.
So it's a nice change. Don't really know when it started for me, but it just one day it was different. So it was nice.
Yeah. And I guess part of that is just like the questions I have now aren't, how does this work? Why does the world work this way? Now it's, Mom, what do you think of the reason the world works this way? And it's almost like when you go from elementary school to high school or from high school to college, when you're just learning in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think it makes sense.
Yeah. So you kind of go through that same development with your parents. And I think that's cool. I don't think I really fully realized that until I said it out loud. And I think I'm really excited about that. So yeah, shout out to Mom. Mom, I think you're cool. I do have to say that my sisters are easily my best friends because I know that they're always going to be there. And we did grow up more together than any of my cousins, and I was homeschooled, so like I didn't have a lot of friends outside of that. Like I had some, but I'd see them like once a week. Um, so I was kind of forced to be friends with my siblings. And the biggest age gap between me and my next sibling is me and my sister above me, and it's 3 years, not 5. And then the sister under me is only a year and a half younger. And she's my bestie. I love her to death. I don't call her as much as I should, but I've told people forever that my best friend of all time is my younger sister.
Yeah, that 3 years seems to be a good, basically a sweet spot. Even 4, like I have 2 of my younger brothers, they're only 4 years apart. And when they lived at home, it was like they were inseparable. And I'm like, this is kind of weird. But I understand for them it makes perfect sense because they're so close in age. So it makes sense.
How has the relationship between your siblings changed? Like, I know growing up you kind of were like the kid in charge with the younger siblings. Has that changed at all now that you're a little older?
With the with my brothers that are right under me, not really. With the youngest though, yeah, I'm always on him about everything, just because he's really smart, and it's like, okay, I want you to succeed. Don't be lazy. Do these things. So that relationship has like kind of gotten even more on the kind of parental nature, just because
Hmm.
I want him to succeed so bad. Then I have one of the twins is in the military, which he's good. I don't worry about him. So when he comes around, we're just hanging out. You know, um, so that's pretty nice there. And then my second youngest brother, he's in the Marines too. So it's like, okay, he's in the Marines. I have one in the Marines, one in the Air Force. It's like, okay, you guys are good. I don't have to really worry about them so much. At least they kind of know what they want to do. So yeah, it's a lot more relaxed when everyone's around now, just because I don't have to be watching every little thing they do. Because in the past, if something broken, that was my fault. And I did not want to be dealing with that. So
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about relationships with parents or family?
no, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think.
Actually,
Oh,
speaking
what?
of the we're so my mother's youngest brother, my youngest uncle, is close enough in age to me that we basically became brothers, which was very not is not wasn't really expected per se, but we ended up becoming very very close. And it's the one uncle I have that I talk to almost every day, like
Whoa.
very nearly. I mean, how much older is he than me? 8 years, maybe? No, it's less than that. I can't remember, but we're close
You
enough
talk to
that
him every day and you don't know how old he is?
I don't remember people's ages most of the time. I have trouble remembering my own age sometimes. So,
Same on
it it,
both
it, ha-
counts.
it happens that way. So, it's just, it was like he was like my older brother, but not so much older that he never wanted to hang out with me, if that makes sense. It was a weird, interesting situation where he was like that towards me, but I'm not necessarily wasn't like that towards my younger brothers. I don't know why, but it didn't rub off. Because there's a bigger gap between me and him than me and my next youngest brother. So it's I don't know, but it is one of those things where we were basically like siblings. I mean, we spent so much time together when I was younger. We went everywhere together, all kinds of things like that. So he introduced me to anime, which I had never watched before. It was great. Got completely hooked. So there's a lot of things like that happen. So yeah, but yeah, that's it. That's all I have.
That's so fun. Um, so then we'll go on to significant others. So your significant other used to be a friend, right?
More or less. So, as you talk about circles of friends, like my closest friends were, all in my same grade. And then you go one step out, which were some of their siblings and my younger friends. And she was in that second ring out. So, not like the most inner group, but still close enough that we knew each other pretty well.
So how did that, I guess that change work to where she went from secondary friend to inner circle to significant other to now fiance? Like you can skip that last part because everybody knows how that goes.
Well, so funny enough, she didn't really even ever hit the inner circle. She really skipped from secondary friend to significant other. It was like you kind of skipped that entire middle ring. Um, a lot of that was ended up just happening from the amount of time we were spending together because we ended up working at the same place.
Mm.
So when you have to spend, weekend after weekend after weekend with someone, sometimes they rub you the wrong way and they get on your nerves and you don't want to work with them anymore. And sometimes they end up being your fiance. Go figure. So
Um, I've only. Do you want me to talk about mine? Do I have to talk about mine? Should
yes.
I talk about mine? Okay. I like whisper like it's embarrassing, like it's not a big deal. So my one significant other I've ever had was one of our good friends, and we hung out all the time. We were really good friends, and for a long time I thought we were just friends, and I didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden it became more, and we were just like hugging a lot longer and hanging out a lot more, just me and him, until it became like, hey, we need to talk about what's happening. Um, and so we did, and we started dating, and we dated for a little while. And then when it ended, we still worked together, and we still had the same circle of friends. Like our best friends were best friends with each other, and that was uncomfortable. Like I remember sitting with you in a coffee shop and saying, okay, so when this ends, who's going to get the friends, me or him? And I was so nervous because I was so sure he was going to get the friends. And I was like, it's going to him, and I'm going to be left with no one. And I don't know what I'm going to do because I need these people so much. Like, I don't want to let go of him because I don't want to lose these people too. And you assured me very quickly. You said, no, you're going to keep the friends. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. And I needed that so bad that day.
Yeah, and that day was very interesting because it was one of those things where I knew in the end we were all going to basically still hang around each other at least some amount, just because we all, one, we worked together, and two, we all liked each other well enough outside of relationships that I was like, we were definitely going to all still hang out. I was going to make sure of it. So it was one of those things.
I'm so grateful for everyone in that friend group and for my ex. I hate saying ex, it sounds so weird. For like getting through that transition out of significant other and back into friendship was a weird road. That was awkward.
Yeah, it was. I knew we would eventually get through it, but I had, right at the end of high school, we had a situation similar where there was a rather catastrophic breakup, and it ripped our friend group to bits. It was it was the most like prototypical high school situation where everything just went up in flames right before we all went off to college, and I was going to be damned if I was going to let that happen again. Especially with people I like being around. I was like, no, this is not going down this way. Can't let this happen a second time in 5 years. Couldn't go down that way.
And I'm so grateful because we're all still friends. We didn't use any names and all that. I'm so proud of us. Yeah, getting out of that. Or like, my least favorite thing, and I'm sure every girl out there can relate to this too, is when you think a guy just wants to be your friend, and then he tries to slip into the boyfriend zone, and that was never a zone you were considering for that friend. You're like, oh, shoot, no, no, thank you. And you try to be really polite, and you try to let them know, like, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested. I'm not sorry. I'm not interested. And they shut you out after that. And that's it. Like, they're not interested in you as anything other than a girlfriend is the most annoying thing in the world. It's so frustrating because, like, you invest time and energy into this person too because you want to be their friend. And they interpret all of that attention and all of that just niceness as, oh, she must be super into me. No, I'm not. I just want to be your friend. If I'm super into you, I will probably not tell you, but I will give you a better signal than texting you every so often and asking you to come hang out with a large group of people. I'm not into you.
I can only imagine how annoying that is. I mean, yeah.
Fun. All right. Well, I think we talked about pretty much everything there is to talk about. Well, that's not 100% true because we could probably talk about this for the rest of the day if we really wanted to, but nobody wants to hear what else we have to say. So you go with wrapping up here?
Yep, that sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, feel free to give us a listen to any of the old ones in the archive. Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook at Coffeeside Podcast. Right? No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. It's at Coffeeside Chat. The email is coffeesidepodcast@gmail.com. Yeah.
Yep.
That's everything, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Tune in next time and we'll talk about something new. Let us know what you want to hear about and maybe we'll talk about that. Bye.